Oh no.
Kane, some warning would be nice. Jax, are we interrupting something?
I don't want to talk about it.
And who's that guy?
Whoops, that's a spoiler for an upcoming adventure. Delete. Pax, Jomny, we have important things to do.
That's not...
Shh! I need you guys to do something for me.
Yeah?
Sadie1 is making a new video and has asked us to do the intro, even though last time they called me a liar.
Ha! Deserved. Thank you guys so much for 1,800 subscribers. The next video will be about how great and awesome Kane is. Am I done now?
Keep reading.
I'm not.
Read.
I love Kane.
I love you too, Jax.
I don't know what I'm supposed to say. And don't give me another shampoo bottle. There's also an official Discord server now. There you can stay updated with new videos, join exclusive events, chat with Sadie to criticize her blasphemous theories that tell lies, and more. Look in the description for the Discord link. I also really like Kane.
Wonderful. Now on to the video.
Well. It's been a little bit over a month since the Amazing Digital Circus episode 7, so let's talk. Previously, we discussed a pretty big idea that massively impacts the story of the series. If you haven't seen that video, I seriously recommend checking it out. I've shaken off the nerves of it being my first theory video since then, and so many people had such positive things to say, while others had some critiques. And I appreciate both equally. They only help to make these videos better going forward. There's lots to talk about, but before we get into it, like Pomni said, I have a Discord server now, and the link is in the description, or comments, both, maybe, I don't know. I'm really hoping to see some of you guys there so we can chat theories or play games together, so consider joining. And if you enjoyed this video, drop a like. I won't ask you to subscribe just yet, because hopefully I'll have earned your subscription by the end of this video, so let's see. This time on Theory Time, we're going to separate from our previous ideas and start anew. So if you haven't seen the last video, it's not as necessary to follow along. That said, this video may be structured a bit differently. Instead of focusing on just one topic like we did last time, I'm going to be throwing like my best ideas out at the wall and seeing what sticks. So, what are my predictions for episode 8? Well, after rewatching episode 7 in preparation for this video, I picked up on a couple things that were appearing frequently. If I'm not mistaken, Beach episode has the most references to prior events within the universe than any other episode we've seen so far. In just 33 minutes, we're given teases of Jax, Ribbit, and Kaufmo's situation, not only through photos, but also through a memory stored in Kane's office, Abel and/or Kane speaking through Abel's disapproval of Kinger for something that happened in the past, more looks at the CNA offices, flashes to Jax's real-life situation, and, toward the end of the episode, the first mention of Scratch, the first abstraction, according to Kinger. We got so many questions, but legitimately no answers. We as the audience are due for some explanations, because just so many ideas were presented to us. And I figure, what better way to give us those answers than to have an episode centered around the past, in what happened prior to Pomni joining the cast. And if you think that's a big jump, let's maybe look at some clues, and honestly, a real-world example that I think helps further this idea. Let's take to Twitter. Oh fuck, wait. More specifically, at SkyRedinVio, who is the English voice of Ribbit in the Amazing Digital Circus. For those of you who aren't scanning the show for lore in every individual frame, Ribbit is this character in Jax's photo, and who we presume abstracted at some point before Kaufmo did in episode 1. Ribbit looks something like this, for all we know. Now, you could be asking, the English voice of Ribbit? But we haven't heard Ribbit speak at all. And you'd be kinda right. Remember when I mentioned that memory in Kane's office? Well, this little orb has stumped the community for weeks. Because if you listen closely...
Do you honestly think you're fucking funny? Seriously, you're a fucking ugly little cunt.
It's quite hard to make out. But at the very least, we can make out the sound of muffled arguing between presumably Jax, as he's the one blankly staring at it, and another unfamiliar voice, which, because she's credited at the end of the episode, we can assume that's the distant sound of Ribbit. No one really knows what they're saying here, and that's why it has the community stumped. And I don't either. I don't know if you were expecting me to be like, oh, but I know what they said. No, I have no idea. Luckily, it doesn't really matter for my predictions, so we'll just keep going. On Twitter, Sky has been super into this character, and honestly, it's really endearing to see how much they love this weirdly tall frog. I bring up Twitter because shortly after this episode was released, she made a big reveal post that she was the voice of Ribbit in the series. And I find it quite suspicious that they did this big reveal after just one line of muffled dialogue, if there weren't bigger plans. Really, I just firmly believe that because we got this announcement so early and they made such a big deal out of it, that I think Ribbit will play a larger role within the series. And if they're currently abstracted within the universe, then I don't think she'll come back after where we left off. Hence why I believe exposition and flashbacks are imminent. So I think it'd be really cool if instead of getting flashbacks here and there, we got almost like a prequel episode. Something I thought about, and I don't know if this is a good point to make or not, this is just kind of me spiraling into many thoughts. The episode count of the series is 9, which is weird because the other series produced by Glitch, Murder Drones, has 8 episodes, and I feel like 8 episodes now is kind of like a standard amount of episodes for TV. So adding one more makes it feel like one of them is an outlier. And on a side note, I was informed that episode 8's release date just so happens to be on National Frog Day. Now, why is that important? Ribbit, Ribbit, Ribbit. That's the sound a frog makes. Who's a frog? Ribbit, the character. Now, that would be interesting if Gooseworx didn't outright say that it was purely coincidence. So whether you choose to believe that or not is up to you. I just wanted to put that out there. Watch out for the frogs! But Ribbit isn't the only reason I think the next episode will be primarily flashbacks. Because while Ribbit relates to Jax, he also has other problems, specifically with his backstory. How I interpret the ending of episode 7 may differ from what other people think or what you think, but I feel as though it's the common consensus that when Jax was having those flashes of memories, it was because Kane was altering his mind to force him to remember things, which then caused Jax to act irrationally and hit the correct button. We can assume this because Jax immediately called him out for messing with his mind. This is a super important detail that needs to be elaborated on, and is something that can be explored in a potential flashback episode. Why is Jax so scared of the real world that he would legitimately ruin his and everyone else's chances of going back just to avoid it? People have their theories that maybe Jax got into a lethal car accident because we see a lot of roads and car POVs in his memories. And there's a lot of ideas floating about, but nothing is super conclusive with so little to work off of. I need to know what fricked this dude up this badly and got him to this point. So Jax's backstory needs some clearing up. But that just leaves us with other loose ends that we could use some clarification on, like CNA and whatever the heck Kinger did. For starters, I feel like whatever happened with Kinger could be tackled in these same flashbacks, or maybe even a retelling from another character's point of view. But there's just not really a lot to theorize off of as is. The most we know about Kinger is that he has a weird weakness to light, he had a wife who abstracted, and can create butterflies? Which is seemingly something no one else can do but him. I'd actually like to bring up that in the last video, my friend Caden in the comments pointed out to me that the life-giving butterfly he created can go to further emphasize the point I made that the mental state of the characters can influence the events. I had initially said that in reference to the space that Pomni entered in the pilot, but it could potentially be the case in a wider range. That said, in general, there isn't that much to think about when it comes to Kinger as of right now. Any theories would be just mostly shots in the dark at what he could have done or what his affiliation is with the game. Which leaves us with only one more important lead to tackle. Regardless of my previous theory, I think it's safe to assume that CNA is still real, and not just something Kane made up for the premise of episode 7. If you need convincing, let's think this through one step at a time and potentially see what Kane is cooking up. As I brought up multiple times in the last video, Kane is hiding crucial information from the inhabitants of the circus. In episode 6, our ringmaster looks at a photo that has these initials on the wall, after everyone goes their separate ways to indulge in some gunplay. He does a similar thing in the very next episode, after he shows Jax the pictures he is fascinated by. Notice how none of them have the logo in them. But what I forgot to mention in the last video is that again, once Jax leaves to rejoin the team, Kane, on his lonesome, pulls out another photo that he didn't show Jax. and lo and behold, the logo is on the walls. So what's up with Cain in this logo? Well, he plays off the events of episode 7 as if he planned everything. And I'd say to an extent he had, because in this episode, he names Abel the way he does to play into the common theory that CNA stands for Cain and Abel. I even think Cain left a purposeful clue in the prior episode, wherein the guns he fabricated for the game, instead of having the logo we've seen so often, it just spells out Cain and Abel. He's making an effort to literally spell it out to them, shortly before he makes his grand reveal of this big adventure he planned. Now, my only problem is that Cain is a bit of a weird case. We don't know the extent to which he can make things in the game. So these gun models could be something that CNA made, or they could be something Cain made. I mean, Cain just kind of makes NPCs, so what's stopping him from making an entirely new gun model? That's kind of the big flaw I see with this idea, so I figured it was important to point out to you guys. In the event, he did create the guns to purposefully show the names on them. I think Cain is purposefully trying to mislead them from what CNA actually is. Furthermore, I don't think the A in CNA actually stands for Abel. Going forward, we have to look at this with the context that Cain has made up Abel, and Abel is acting as Cain intended him to. Notice how Abel reveals his name here.
Oh, what should we call you? Do you have a name?
I do. My name is Abel.
In a similar way to how Andrew Garfield leapt out of that portal in Spider-Man No Way Home, they left dead space for an audience reaction, an oohs or ahs, and then see what follows.
Like, is that the name you picked? Or...
Yeah, I thought it would be cool.
When he doesn't get that reaction he wanted, he just kind of gets all shy and says he thought it would be cool. It appears to me like Cain just kind of picked Abel because probably somewhere in that AI brain of his he learned about what the actual depictions of Cain and Abel are and then just rolled with it. To me, this either says two things. One, the A must be a different name, or two, both names are different and we're just getting mega trolled. But I'd put my money on it just being the A that's different. I'm super duper curious to know what you guys think. Again, I'd love to read all the comments and reply to some of you guys, or you can even join my Discord and we can all discuss amongst ourselves. The link's still below, by the way. Just go check it out. So those are some of my random scattered thoughts about what's to come next time on the Amazing Digital Circus. I know this is a bit on the shorter end, but I just wanted to get my ideas out there before they get outdated. Oh, and a special shout out to Doodlest for voicing Pomni in that opening skit you saw. I hope you all enjoyed it. And I'd like to thank everyone for the support on my last video. 100+ subscribers in 1 month is like actually insane to me. I can't begin to express how much it means to me. Thank you all so much. Remember to like, and hopefully now you're more inclined to subscribe. Anywho, that's it for this one. Bye.